She wore a soldier's coat, but her eyes gave her away, and he chose to look past them. Wild West story, the sun was just beginning to dip below the dusty horizon of Iron Ridge, painting the small frontier town in shades of gold and orange. The wooden buildings, worn and weathered, cast long shadows across the dirt streets. It was quiet. The kind of quiet that made people both comfortable and alert, because in towns like this, quiet was often broken by something unexpected. A sudden swirl of dust on the edge of town drew the attention of a few townsfolk. Windows cracked open, doors half swinging, and children pressed their small hands to the edges of porches to get a better look. The swirl grew larger, and soon a figure appeared through the haze. A lone rider, draped in a long coat that had clearly seen better days. The coat was not like any the locals wore. It was a soldier's coat, dark and sturdy, with faded stripes that hinted at ranks and battles far away. The townsfolk whispered, "Who was this person? From where had they come? Most importantly, what did they want in Iron Ridge?" Elias, a young engineer and tinkerer of the town, leaned on the railing of his workshop, his eyes narrowing as he studied the figure. He had seen soldiers before, but not like this. She didn't move like someone ready to fight. She moved cautiously, but her gaze was curious, wandering over the streets, the buildings, and the people. There was something gentle in the way her eyes observed the world, something that did not match the harshness of her coat. The rider slowed, guiding her horse to the center of the main street. She dismounted smoothly, tying the reins to a post. The coat swayed slightly in the wind, and a small bell jingled from her bag. She adjusted her hat and looked around as if trying to remember something very important.
Elias stepped closer. He was not sure why, but he felt compelled to approach.
There was something about her presence that demanded attention, a quiet confidence that did not need to be announced with words or guns. "Hello," he called, keeping his voice steady. "Are you new here?" She turned her head slowly, and her eyes met his. They were bright, almost unnervingly clear, like she could see right through the layers of dust, wood, and stone that made up Iron Ridge. For a moment neither spoke. Then, in a voice that was soft but firm, she replied, "Yes, I'm... something?" Elias raised an eyebrow. "We're a small town. Most people here are looking for peace, not trouble." She smiled faintly, not unkindly. "Peace is what I hope to find. But first I need to find a place to stay, and maybe someone who knows this town well." Elias nodded, stepping back slightly. "I might be able to help with that. My name is Elias." "Leora," she said. "Leora Kessler." The two shook hands, and it felt natural, like the meeting of two people who, by chance, were supposed to meet. Leora's grip was steady, not too strong, not too weak, but her eyes continued to study Elias as if trying to gauge whether she could trust him. Over the next hour, the townsfolk gradually warmed up to Leora, watching as she helped a child untangle a stubborn rope from a broken wagon wheel. She worked with care, explaining her method without bossing anyone around. Even the elders of Iron Ridge, who had seen countless travelers and wanderers, found themselves nodding in approval. Elias noticed how her hands moved, sure, practiced, and precise. She was clearly trained, but not for war. She was trained to solve problems, to think through them step by step, and to act when necessary. That's when he realized something important. Appearances could be deceiving. A soldier's coat might make people fear her, but her actions were gentle, thoughtful, and kind. As the evening wore on, Leora asked questions about the town, the layout, the people, and especially the old windmill at the edge of the ridge. Elias hesitated briefly. The windmill was not dangerous, but it held secrets of the town's past that few remembered. He decided to trust her. "It's an old place," he said, "but if you're interested in engineering or mechanics, it might be worth seeing." There's a lot to learn from it even now." Leora's eyes lit up. "I'd like that. Thank you." The two walked together through the streets, Elias explaining small details about the town, how the wells worked, the routes for delivery wagons, and the best spots to watch the sunset. Leora listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions that revealed her intelligence and curiosity. She didn't just look for information, she wanted to understand the way people lived, the way the town survived, and the way humans adapted to the harsh frontier. As they neared the windmill, a sudden gust of wind carried sand and dust across the path. Leora's coat flapped in the wind, and for a moment she appeared as a shadow of something greater. A soldier, yes, but a soldier who had been shaped by a world far beyond Iron Ridge. Elias caught himself staring. Her eyes, bright and steady, were unwavering even in the storm. Inside the windmill, the air smelled of wood, oil, and dust. The large gears and wheels had long stopped turning, but they still held an intricate beauty. Leora ran her fingers along the edges of the machinery, marveling at the design. She turned to Elias. "Humans built this? Without machines from the city?" Elias chuckled. "We get creative when we don't have anything else. Sometimes that's better than the fancy tools and machines you're used to," she smiled. "Creativity is the same everywhere. It's the choices we make that define us, not the tools we use." Her words stuck with Elias. He realized that despite her soldier's coat, her identity wasn't bound to the uniform. She carried her humanity, her thoughtfulness, and her curiosity in her eyes and actions. That was far more important than the label she wore on her back. As night fell, the townsfolk gathered at the small diner on Main Street. Leora followed, her presence calm and inviting. People whispered and speculated, but as she helped serve water and shared stories of distant cities, the tension slowly melted. Children laughed, elders nodded, and even the gruff blacksmith smiled, shaking his head at the stranger who seemed to have arrived from nowhere yet already belonged. Elias watched her interact with everyone, feeling a sense of pride and wonder. She was a reminder that humans were not defined by what they wore, by the armies they came from, or by the expectations placed on them. Humans were capable of curiosity, kindness, and ingenuity, and that could shine through even the roughest coats and the hardest journeys. When the diner emptied and the stars came out in full brilliance, Leora and Elias stepped outside. The night was cool, and the wind carried the faint scent of sage and dust. She turned to him, her eyes reflecting the silver light of the moon. "Thank you for today," she said softly. "You didn't judge me by my coat," Elias smiled. "I looked at your eyes instead. That's usually a better way to understand someone." For the first time since arriving, Leora relaxed completely. She felt she could trust this town, this stranger, and perhaps even herself. Somewhere in the distance, the windmill creaked softly, a reminder of the past and the potential that still lay ahead. Elias watched her mount her horse again, ready for whatever the next day would bring. Iron Ridge had seen many travelers, but few like Leora. He could already feel that her story, her true story, was just beginning, and that it would change the town in ways they could not yet imagine. As she rode slowly toward the edge of town, her coat trailing behind her, Elias whispered to himself, "Sometimes it's not the uniform that makes the person, it's what they do while wearing it." And with that thought, the first chapter of Leora's journey in Iron Ridge closed, leaving behind curiosity, hope, and the quiet promise of discovery. The next morning, Iron Ridge woke under a pale orange sky. The sun barely kissed the rooftops, and the wind carried the faint smell of baked bread and sage. Leora stood outside the diner, brushing dust from her coat. She was not in a rush, but there was a quiet determination in the way she moved, as if the town itself held clues she needed to find. Elias arrived shortly after, carrying a small satchel of tools and notes. "Good morning," he said, trying to sound casual. Inside, though, he felt the spark of excitement. Today they would explore something important. "Good morning," Leora replied. Her eyes scanned the streets, attentive to every detail. "I thought we could start with the archives. You said there might be something old, something about this town's past?" Elias nodded. "Yes. The town keeps records in the old library, near the west edge. Few people go there anymore. It's mostly dust and old books. But I think it might tell us what you're looking for." They walked through the streets, passing wooden buildings that had seen generations of people come and go. The townsfolk peeked from windows, nodding politely at Leora. She greeted them with small smiles, her presence softening the edges of curiosity and suspicion. Even the blacksmith waved, though only with a small nod. The library stood at the end of the road, a tall building of stone and faded wood. Its windows were dusty, and the bell above the door squeaked when Elias pushed it open. Inside, the smell of old paper and sunlight mixing with dust was almost overwhelming. "This place hasn't changed much in decades," Elias said, guiding her through narrow aisles of bookshelves. "Most of what you need to know is hidden in town records, property logs, construction notes, and old letters. The town kept them here because they thought they might be important someday." Leora's eyes lit up. Someday has arrived, it seems. They began to search, carefully flipping through yellowed pages and brittle maps. Leora's fingers traced symbols and notes as if she could read between the lines. Every so often she would point out connections that Elias had overlooked, a reference to an old water channel, the position of a windmill gear, or a note about a missing town monument. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher, spilling light through the windows, and dust motes floated in golden streams. Leora paused and leaned closer to a large map pinned to the wall. "This map," she whispered, "it shows the town as it was, but also something hidden. Look here. The old waterworks, the windmill, and this small mark. It's subtle, almost invisible, but it's a clue. Elias leaned in, squinting. That mark, I think it corresponds to the basement of the old saloon. No one has been there in years. Leora's eyes sparkled. Then that's where we start. It might hold what I'm looking for, or at least lead us closer. The saloon stood at the center of town, its wooden boards faded and peeling. The swinging doors creaked as they pushed them open, revealing dust-covered tables and empty shelves. The basement door was tucked behind the bar, hidden beneath a loose floorboard. Leora knelt, examining it closely. It's locked, Elias said, frowning. Leora shook her head. Not for long. She produced a small set of tools from her satchel and began working carefully. Her fingers moved with precision and patience, guided by her understanding of mechanics and patterns. Elias watched, impressed. Even though her coat suggested she was a soldier, her actions spoke of a mind trained for problem-solving and curiosity rather than conflict. After a few minutes, there was a soft click. The basement door swung open, revealing a narrow staircase leading downward into darkness. Leora paused, letting her eyes adjust. We'll need light, she said, producing a small lantern. Its glow revealed the walls lined with old crates and barrels. Together, they explored. Most of the crates contained supplies long forgotten, but one large reinforced chest drew Leora's attention. She knelt beside it, examining the lock, which was old but intricate. This isn't just a container, she murmured. It's a puzzle, designed to keep only someone careful and thoughtful from opening it. Elias studied her as she worked. You mean someone like you? She smiled faintly. Exactly. It's human ingenuity, Elias. Nothing too clever for a soldier, but something that values patience, observation, and understanding. Machines or force wouldn't solve this. It needs thought. Minutes turned into an hour as Leora carefully manipulated the lock. She traced the lines, listened for subtle clicks, and used her intuition to guide the final adjustments. Then, finally, with a soft metallic sigh, the chest opened. Inside, instead of treasure or weapons, lay a small glowing device. An energy core, compact yet powerful. Its surface pulsed gently, as if alive, and Leora's eyes widened in awe. This is it. This is what I came for. Elias stepped closer, examining it carefully. It doesn't look dangerous. It isn't, Leora said softly. It's a human-made device. It stores energy in a way that can power a whole city for years, but it's fragile and requires careful handling. Whoever controls it must understand it and respect it. Elias nodded. And you do. She looked at him, her expression serious but calm. I hope so. This device represents human creativity and responsibility. It's a reminder that humans can build incredible things, but they must also care for them. The two of them worked carefully to transport the energy core out of the basement. They avoided bumping it or shaking it, treating it as both a tool and a treasure. Leora's careful instructions guided the process, and Elias followed them without hesitation. Once outside, the sun had begun its slow descent. The light caught the edges of the energy core, making it glow like a small star. Townsfolk watched from a distance, curiosity turning to admiration. Leora had arrived as a stranger in a soldier's coat, but now she moved with purpose, demonstrating not strength or threat, but intelligence, patience, and care. We need to decide what to do next, Elias said. This core, it's not something to leave out in the open. Leora nodded. I know. We'll take it to a safe place, somewhere it can be studied and used properly. But more importantly, she looked around at the town, her eyes softening. We must teach that human creativity and thought are as important as anything else. That's what this core represents, our ability to solve problems, to invent, to adapt. Elias smiled. Then let's make sure it's safe. Together. As they prepared to move the energy core, Leora paused, looking out over the town of Iron Ridge. The wind picked up, carrying the faint scent of sage and earth. She could see the children playing, the merchants arranging their stalls, and the old blacksmith wiping sweat from his brow. This small town, seemingly ordinary, held extraordinary human potential. And in that moment, Leora understood something vital. Humans were capable of more than she had imagined, even without advanced machines or distant cities. Their creativity, curiosity, and teamwork could overcome challenges without violence, without conflict, simply by thinking, observing, and caring. Elias noticed her thoughtful expression. You're thinking about the city? He asked. She nodded. Yes. But I'm also thinking about these people. It's easy to forget that even the simplest lives can hold lessons. And even the smallest town can change the world, if the right people notice and act. Together, they carried the core to a small hidden workshop Elias had built at the edge of town. Inside, they set it down carefully, surrounding it with instruments, notes, and protective measures. Leora studied it, taking measurements and recording observations. Elias helped, learning from her, asking questions, and noting the subtle details that made the device remarkable. Hours passed, but neither felt tired. The workshop hummed with quiet excitement, a testament to human ingenuity and cooperation. Leora spoke softly, almost to herself. It's amazing how humans hide their greatest achievements in plain sight, sometimes forgetting their value until the right person comes along. Elias smiled. Then maybe today the right person came along. Leora glanced at him, a small smile on her face. Yes. And sometimes the right person is not one, but two. Humans working together. That's when things become truly extraordinary. Outside, the night had fallen. The stars shone brightly, scattered across the sky like tiny sparks of hope. The town of Iron Ridge rested quietly, unaware that the events of the day had begun a new chapter in its history, a chapter that would test human ingenuity, creativity, and collaboration in ways no one could yet imagine. Leora looked at Elias one last time before leaving the workshop for a brief rest. "Tomorrow we continue," she said. "There's more to uncover, more puzzles to solve. This town, and this device will teach us much." Elias nodded. "I'll be ready, and I think we'll both learn a lot from each other." For the first time, both realized that trust and curiosity could carry them farther than fear or suspicion ever could. And as the wind whispered through the streets of Iron Ridge, the two humans, one a soldier from afar, one a town engineer, prepared for the challenges ahead, knowing that together they could solve problems no single person could handle alone. The morning sun warmed the streets of Iron Ridge as Elias and Leora prepared for the day ahead. The wind had softened to a gentle breeze, carrying the faint smell of baked bread and sage from the town below. Today they would explore the old saloon basement again, not just to retrieve the energy core, but to understand it fully. Leora had a feeling that more secrets were hidden within, waiting for careful minds to uncover them. Elias carried the lantern, and Leora adjusted her soldier's coat, which still seemed slightly too large for her frame. It had become less intimidating over the past few days and more like a shield of experience hinting at her background without defining her. "Do you ever wonder," Elias asked, "why someone would hide something this important in a dusty old saloon basement?" Leora smiled, because humans are clever like that. We hide what we value in plain sight, trusting only those who look carefully and think deeply to find it. It's not strength that matters, it's thought, patience, and understanding. They entered the saloon, the familiar creak of the doors echoing across the empty main room. Dust rose with each step, sparkling faintly in the sunlight. Leora led the way to the basement, kneeling once more to inspect the lock. Elias had grown curious about the chest as well, wondering what hidden design or puzzle might still remain. "Ready?" Leora asked, her eyes reflecting the faint light of the lantern. Elias nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be." Together, they descended into the basement. The air was cooler here, smelling of old wood and iron. The energy core rested on a small crate, its gentle glow lighting up the space like a heartbeat. But Leora knew this was just the beginning. There was a mechanism beneath it, a system of gears and locks integrated into the crate itself. It was designed not to keep humans out, but to guide the right minds toward understanding how the core worked. "This is amazing," Elias whispered. "It's like the chest is a puzzle made by someone who trusted humans' intelligence more than their strength." Leora nodded. "Exactly. It's human ingenuity, pure and simple. Every gear, every lock is a test of patience and observation. Nothing can be forced. It can only be solved with care." She crouched in front of the chest, examining its intricate patterns. Small symbols ran along the edges, faintly carved and worn by time. Each one seemed to correspond to a gear inside the crate, and each gear appeared to move only when manipulated in a certain sequence. Elias watched, fascinated. "How do you know where to start?" "You observe first," Leora explained. "Notice what moves, what resists. Think about the intention behind the design. The person who made this wasn't trying to hide it from the world. They wanted the right people to understand it. That's why they used human thought, not brute force." She began to manipulate the gears, moving them slowly and deliberately. Elias leaned in, observing the patterns she followed, learning to think like her. After several careful adjustments, the gears clicked softly, shifting in ways that revealed a hidden compartment beneath the core. Inside lay a small, folded document, yellowed with age. Leora carefully unfolded it. It was a schematic of the energy core, showing not just how it worked, but the philosophy behind it. The designer had intended it to be a gift to humanity, a tool to teach cooperation, patience, and intelligence. Elias scanned the document. It's beautiful. Whoever made this believed that humans could solve problems together without fighting or fear. Exactly, Leora said, her eyes shining. This is what I came to find. It's not just a device, it's a lesson. The lesson is clear. Humanity's greatest strength is thought, creativity, and collaboration. They spent the next few hours studying the schematic. Leora explained a function of each component while Elias helped adjust small settings on the energy core according to the instructions. Every movement was careful, deliberate, and full of purpose. The two worked seamlessly, each learning from the other. By late afternoon, they had unlocked the full potential of the core. It hummed gently, radiating a warmth that seemed to reach beyond the physical, a warmth of hope and human achievement. Leora stepped back, smiling at the sight. It's ready, she said softly. Now the real work begins, using it wisely. You mean sharing it with the town? Not just the town, Leora replied. Sharing it with everyone. But first, we must understand it ourselves. This device teaches us how to think, to solve problems without force, to trust and learn from each other. That's the most important lesson. Elias nodded, feeling inspired. Then we'll take it one step at a time, together. Outside, the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the streets of Iron Ridge. The town looked ordinary, but both of them knew that it now held extraordinary potential. The energy core was not just a tool, it was a symbol of human creativity and intelligence. And they were the first to unlock it. As night fell, they returned to Elias's workshop, where the core was carefully placed on a reinforced platform. Leora took notes, documenting every observation and adjustment, while Elias prepared instruments to measure energy output. They worked silently for a time, their minds focused, their movements synchronized. After hours of study, Leora paused and looked at Elias. Do you see it? She asked. See what? He replied. The way humans think. How we can create, adapt, and solve problems. This court, it's a reflection of us. It's fragile, yes, but capable of greatness when handled with care. I think I understand. It's not the device that's special, it's the humans who use it. Exactly, Leora said. It's a reminder that our greatest achievements come from thought, observation, and cooperation. Not strength, not violence, not fear. Just humanity. They worked late into the night, taking careful measurements, adjusting small mechanisms, and learning from the energy core. Every action reinforced the lesson. Human creativity, patience, and trust could solve challenges no machine or soldier could. As the stars appeared above Iron Ridge, Leora stepped outside for a moment, taking a deep breath of the cool night air. The town was quiet, the streets empty except for the occasional flicker of candlelight. She felt a deep sense of connection, not just to Elias, but to the town itself. These ordinary people, living simple lives, held the same potential as anyone in a distant city or a faraway battlefield. Elias joined her, carrying a small notebook filled with observations. It's incredible, he said softly. All of this, it started with curiosity, patience, and teamwork, and it's still just the beginning. Leora nodded, her gaze sweeping over the town. Yes, this town, this core, they will teach us more than we can imagine. And the lesson is simple. Humans, when we work together and think carefully, can solve any problem. That's the heart of the frontier. The night passed quietly, filled with the hum of the energy core and the soft rustle of wind through the streets. Iron Ridge slept unaware of the discoveries happening in the small workshop at its edge. But for Leora and Elias, the future was alive with possibilities. Proof that human ingenuity, patience, and collaboration could unlock wonders hidden in plain sight. As dawn approached, Leora packed her tools and notes, ready to continue the work. Tomorrow, she said, we explore the next step. There's more to learn, more to uncover, and more ways to use what we've found. The town will be part of this, and so will we. Elias looked at her, admiration clear in his eyes. I can't wait. Whatever comes next, I know we'll handle it together. Leora smiled. Yes, together. That's the lesson of the core and of humanity. With that, they prepared for the night's rest, knowing that Iron Ridge was no longer just a simple frontier town. It was a place of discovery, a place where human intelligence and cooperation could shine brighter than any machine, weapon, or uniform ever could. And in that quiet understanding, both Leora and Elias felt hope, a hope that would guide them through the challenges yet to come.